Hey guys, and welcome to Devlog 3 of the Modular Road Tool. If you recall from last video, this is the scene that I showed you guys. It's a pretty simple road tool, and it was mostly derived from my arcade space shooter tool for making roads in Corneria, and also looking at Epic's track generator. That's on the learning tab. I really like the way that they build each segment as part of a struct. And this is kind of what I showed. Uh, but in the past a week or so, I've been working not only on ABK's multiplayer, which is still coming, but I've been working on this little road tool and improving it a little bit more. Uh, and eventually I decided to switch the way that I am generating the road splines. And I'll tell you why. So if you look at this right here, you'll notice that the roads texture, the painting here, is not consistent, right? It's stretched out. In this case here, the size in this section here is bigger than in this section, and this section is smaller than this section, etc. And the reason for that is because what I'm doing is I'm stretching the road segment in between each individual spline point, right? And you could, if you really had the patience, try to get them to the exact same distance and create the road accurately. But that's very hard and very tedious. So I've noticed some of the other tools that are in the marketplace that I was looking at actually before deciding to even make this was that they basically lay out the track or the segments in an even way. They look at the distance of the spline and they figure out how many segments fit, and then they actually lay down the segments. And that ensures that that each segment is the exact same size, and you don't have this issue here. This is also the same technique that the road tool that is available for free on the community forums does it, right? You don't have to try and carefully manage the spacing here. You just drag the spline and automatically calculates the spacing. So long story short, so I don't ramble too much here, that's what I did, and that was a pretty big change. And I've also made some additional changes. But if I wanted to show you what I have here, this is a you can see I deleted everything here, but this is the new version of the road tool, and I'm calling the modular road tool, even though it's called BP Road Builder here. And if I just drag this here, you'll notice now that if I just drag the spline point, in this case it's just one lane, the track, as you can see here, doesn't have any stretching whatsoever. And I can show you if I just have only two spline points here. If I go to, let me just go ahead and put this a little bit lower here. If I just go ahead and show you the entire road, like in this way, you'll notice now that even though I only have two spline points, 0 and 1, I have 7 different road segments, and those are noted by the green numbers here. And if I go into the road segments section here, you'll notice that there are 7 different sections, or 8 different sections rather, because 0 counts. So what that means is now that there's also a performance issue, which I'm sure you guys have noticed with the other tool. I've actually seen comments. If the road gets really, really big, you'll see, even here on my computer, you'll see my frame rate here, just by dragging this road, kind of drop significantly. So you can imagine if I wanted to manipulate this road, let's say I'm at a spline point here and move it, you can see how it's just very difficult performance wise. So what I did is I created an edit mode, which basically takes away everything else except the road mesh, and that allows you to manipulate it way easier. And you can still see that there's some drop, but it's way easier. And if this still doesn't help you, then you can go into spline only mode, and then at that point, then you can see there's literally no impact whatsoever, because all you're doing is just creating the spline. You're not generating anything at all. So the default mode when you use the tool is the edit mode, and you can lay down the track. That way you can see the width and how the track plays. And then when you're done with your road, you can disable edit mode, and at that point then it'll have the sidewalk and it'll have the rails if that was part of your settings. So obviously, just like before, you have the road defaults here, and that shows you whether you want to show, okay, it's the left rail and the right rail. In this case, I've decided that yes, that's what I want to do, and I can reset my defaults. And when I come back, my road now has all of this. I'm gonna move this a little bit more here and put it a little bit higher here. So you can not only modify the defaults and reset the entire road in this case, but you can change each individual segment just like before. In this case, we have 28 different segments, and you can decide on a per segment basis a bunch of options. The new addition here is whether you want to show the segment at all. You can see that I can immediately hide the segment. So say that you wanted to have a crossroad here, or you wanted to have a completely different mesh, or the road maybe just falls, right? Maybe it's a bridge. You can now hide specific segments. You can show or hide the sidewalks, and you can show or hide the rails, right? So there's a lot of flexibility, and obviously, just like before, you have the ability to choose a bunch of options like the mesh for the road, the material for the road, the meshes for the sidewalks individually left and right, and the meshes for the rails individually left and right, as well as the materials, and a bunch of other things like the rail offset, the segment start and end width, and the thickness. So not that much new, except the fact that now you can show and hide the segment here. You also have a new drop down here, number of lanes, and that's right now I just have 1 or 2 lanes implemented. So if you go from 1 to 2 lanes, I'm going to go back to edit mode just for performance reasons, and I change it to 2 lanes, and I go here and I start dragging my road. You'll see immediately that now I have a 2-lane road that pops up here. But say that I wanted to again reset my entire road to those defaults, I can just go ahead and click reset defaults, and now my entire road has 2 lanes. And again, I can exit out of edit mode, and the same defaults, 2 lanes, sidewalks, and the rails are now present on my entire road. And you can notice here that also we have automatic supports, and this was again part of the original road tool that I had for the arcade space shooter, but the difference here is that I'm still drawing support only per spline, not per segment. So it kind of mixed the 2 tools, right? The meshes that are generated are going per segment and are calculated on the fly to be exactly the same, except the last part here. But the support is only done on a per spline basis. So I just raised my little road here, and you'll notice that there automatically appears some support, almost like a bridge, but only on the spline points. So if I were to create a new spline point here, you'll notice that automatically I would get this support, right? And you can choose whether you want to have support or not, just by selecting this option. You can have initial support, or support at the initial point and support at the end point rather. And the reason why those are separate is because maybe you want the initial spline point to be on the road, right, on the floor, and then you want to kind of slope up the road, so you wouldn't want a support here. Same thing with the ending. Maybe you don't want that spline point to have a support. I've also added the ability to choose where you display your support, even on a per spline point basis. So what do I mean by that? Right now, you either have add support or don't add support, right? And it just does a line trace, and if the distance is bigger than the minimum that you set, it'll automatically add the support. However, what you can do here is you can come here and you can see there's a bunch of utilities here and say build support map, and it will go and create a little map. You can see it here, support map, and it'll show you all of the different spline points, and it'll have like a little checkbox, a boolean. And what you can do is you can deselect specific spline points. Like in this case, number 2, I can deselect the boolean here and get rid of the support. So now even more flexibility, right? So you can have support only on the spline points that you want. Maybe in some areas you don't want a bridge to form, right? Or you don't want the support to appear on a spline point even though it is above the ground. So now you have ultimate control. You can select which spline points have the support and which do not, while at the same time having the benefit of the other tools that give you specific segments, and you can modify the segments right here on this list of structs. So really cool. I've shown some of the other stuff before, so I'm not going to show it again. You can align the tool to the floor. You can align the landscape to the tool here. You can attach the road to another road, or the end point of this road to another road to connect them. You can clone roads, and I've shown that on the previous video. So if I drag another one of these, I can clone this exact road here, right? So if I just do this, and I decide that I want to clone, let me just select this road here, and I decided that I want to clone this road. You can see immediately that I come here and I choose update road. You can see now that I've completely cloned this road, and I can just move my my road up. And if I disable edit mode, you'll see that it automatically tries to put support toward this road. So you can kind of create very quickly different lanes. The reason for that is if you wanted to create different lanes, you could quickly do it that way, right? Maybe one from one direction, one in another. And then I can come here and do whatever I want with this road, right? So 2 lanes, 1 lane, and you have a lot of flexibility here. So I've added a few other things that I'm not really gonna touch on. For example, you'll notice here, if I look on this road, that the last segment is stretched. You can see here, right? And if I keep moving here, I'm gonna go to edit mode. Eventually, it'll divide and then add this correct segment here, and then it'll start stretching this, right? So if you don't want any stretching at all, which I know is another complaint, you can come back here and deselect stretch matches, and you'll see that the spline will only add segments on equal spacing, right? So if you rather do it like that, so you have absolutely 0 stretch meshes, you can do it this way, and then you just have to account for having a space here that doesn't have anything, but that way your road is exact all the way through. Default is stretched because I rather have a contiguous road, but you don't have to do that, obviously. I have also adopted the same method that the other free tool does, and you can specify the tangent length here and the end tangent length. Makes it really nice for this method. Excuse me. And I do have plans to add perhaps a couple of connectors, which I haven't done before. I haven't done yet, right? Like maybe a T connection or a 4-way connection. But I'm pretty happy with where I am right now. Again, if you guys remember, the reason I'm even doing this is because I have an idea of having a little traffic system that I'd like to implement. Maybe my next project will be the traffic system, and I wanted to have roads included, because if I have roads, then I can make my blueprint follow the splines in the right way, right? And I can't count on third-party or marketplace assets, obviously, because I can't include them in my project. So that's kind of the reason why I did this, which brings me to a pretty exciting announcement. And I've been thinking about this, for a while now, past couple of weeks, but I've decided to release this tool for free. At least this version of the tool. So I know there's another tool out there in the market place. Actually, there's a couple in the marketplace, and there's another one that's on the community forums, which is free as well. So if you think that you like this method, right? I feel that this is a bit more flexible than the other tool. If you find this useful, well, I will be giving the tool away as soon as I'm done with some of the extra bugs that I have. And I am considering doing a paid version of the tool with a lot more options, right? So I have 1 and 2 lanes here. Perhaps the paid tool could have 3 and 4 lanes, so you can create highways, more meshes, more modular meshes for support, better textures. Right now there's several issues with the textures. You can see here there's some band in here, and that's because I'm just not that good at UVing, right? I haven't taken the time to make this really nice. So a paid version of the tool would basically give you better materials, including vertex painting, more connectors. So maybe I can do things like a roundabout, Y joints, T joints, maybe highway exits, more lanes, maybe even more optimized meshes if I spend the time to actually get it done properly. But if you don't want to pay for it, at least you can have the free version of the tool, which means that it's kind of win-win for everybody. So hope you like the little announcement, and hope you are excited for the tool. I am pretty happy with how it turned out. I just have a few more bugs to fix before I post this in the forums, and of course I'll make a little tutorial video actually showing you properly how to use the tool, because I know I kind of skimmed through a lot of this stuff here. There are a lot of options and a lot of flexibility here, and obviously you can always add your own meshes or materials or customize the materials to your liking. So that's all I have for today. Again, ABK is still slowly getting there. There really is nothing to show as far as multiplayer, because it's just replication issue after replication issue. There's no new features, just adding multiplayer, which is why I'm not showing it to you. But I'm hoping that once this tool is released, then I can focus full time again on ABK and make that push to get that out to the marketplace. So anyway, let me know what you think. Any thoughts, feedback that you have. Right now is the right time. Any options that you like this to have that you didn't see. Anything that any of the other tools that you've used before have that you'd love for this to have. Maybe I can add it before the release. Maybe not. We'll see, depending on the feature. But yeah, love to hear your feedback and your thoughts. And I will talk to you in the next video. Thanks a lot.